Hello! Today I'd like to talk a little bit about surrendering to love. Okay? I did not prepare to do this video, to be honest. Um, it's just that something happened today about like 1.5 hours ago. I felt like we had a little encounter from life with the theme of surrendering and the theme of love. So yeah, this is just a small piece of story I'd like to share with you guys and then share my perceptions on it, okay? Just as a disclaimer and a trigger warning, if someone is very sensitive to animal suffering, you might not want to watch this video. There's nothing much, but still there is animal suffering in here, okay? My story today I went to my backyard. I might cry at this video, okay? That's me. I went to my backyard to look for something. As I opened the cabinet we have there, something fell on my hand. And then I felt a little bit frightened. It felt like an animal. It was wet. As I looked down below, it was a lizard that was on my hand. And then it fell onto the floor. The thing is, that lizard was very hurt. Okay, it was bleeding. It was already bleeding when it fell on my hand, so it was not only the impact of him falling to the floor. It didn't fall from a very tall height. So I went through a few stages with that. So before I opened the cabinet, I was feeling very calm, was listening to music, was feeling a little bit distracted. Then I opened the cabinet and I felt frightened. You know, I think I yelled a little bit. Then I looked at that animal on the floor in shock. Like I was definitely not expecting it, you know. And like I said, the animal was very hurt. So I started trying to help him, and I thought of many things I could do. Like I said, it was bleeding. I think it had been in a fight with another animal because it was hurt. So I researched about whether I was able to give little reptiles painkillers, like I could dilute some. I I researched a bunch of things because I wanted to help. And then I went to my third and last state. That was surrendering to the realization that he was about to die. He was he was barely moving, to be honest. I was looking at it. I won't be very graphic here, but I was looking at it and I could see his little belly like inflating. Does this word exist? His little belly was growing and then getting small again, going back and forth very quickly. And he was like this. I don't know. Um, yeah, he was suffering clearly, and like I said, bleeding. So I felt desperate because I wanted to help, but then I I had to admit to myself that that was the course of his life, and that there wasn't anything I could do for him that could actually save him. I had to accept. By the time I realized that he was about to pass away, there were one word that has been following me for many months now popped onto my mind at that time, and that's the word, I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's Fana. Fana, 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 I don't know. I'll say it, Fana. That word came back onto my mind. Uh, just to be a little bit short, but I'm going to read. I have the Google's definition open here. It basically could mean the annihilation of an other concept. It, and by the way, that's a word that came from Islam, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. So Google states Fana as Fana, originating from Arabic and prominent in Sufi mysticism, signifies the passing away, annihilation, or dissolution of the individual ego or and selfish will before God. It represents a spiritual it represents a spiritual state of dying to one's self to achieve union with the divine, often interpreted as dying before one dies. And that was really interesting for me to read. I had already read it and read about it, but yeah, I just gained a new perspective, I guess, for me, you know, in front of this event. I know that for I know that for most people this would have been probably like nothing or just disgusting, but yeah, I don't know, I seek meaning in things. I take things seriously usually. So and I like it. But yeah, I forgot the thread I was I was on, to be honest. But this word fana came to my mind. And at that very moment when I realized there was not anything I could do in order to save that lizard in my backyard, what I did was I grabbed him. He didn't even protest. Moved a bit, but not much. So I grabbed it and I put him in a flower vase we have. It's kind of big. I put an umbrella upon it so he would have shadow, and it's raining a little bit so he wouldn't feel bothered if it rained too much. When I accepted its destiny, when I accepted what had happened, I finally felt able to annihilate the savior role and the controlling role that I had. I feel like a few roles of mine have been annihilated in my presence at that moment with that lizard. At the end of the day, what was left was me feeling a great compassion for that lizard. And I don't know whether I can make myself be explained or not. Uh, But somehow I saw myself in that lizard, you know, so often fragile and so often wounded, so often a victim, so often attacked, and so often I attack and I regret. I don't know, I didn't see anymore a differentiation between me and that lizard. You know, when I finally stopped clinging onto fear, disgust, I think I was able to simply bear witness. And that was only when I could be present with him in love. Of course, if I was taking care of him, I'd be loving him. But I think there's something very important and powerful in simply bearing witness, in simply bearing witness and being a testimony and respecting other beings' journeys. That was his journey. And I could only feel honored that that that's my belief that in a way he chose me to bear witness to his last moment. And I think life I felt honored afterwards for me to have encountered him. I was thinking, um, here goes a little bit of my spiritual beliefs, okay? They are mine. Nobody has to agree with them. But I believe there are sort of soul contracts. They are not like really contracts contracts of course. But I do believe like some energies agree to meet and to play roles in each other's lives. I was thinking of the soul of that lizard because I believe every being has a soul. I think in a way he chose to be incarnated as a lizard, not as a practical choice, as the conscious choice we make when we choose what we're having for lunch, for example. But I do believe in a way he chose to come incarnated as a lizard. He had to go under certain circumstances, and the lizard form was the form that matched what he had to go through. And I don't know, when we see lizards, like I said, we often feel disgusted, we feel fearful. For him, it must be hard at times. I don't know, he lives in the shadows. He it's a predator life. You have to protect yourself all the time. And for me to have had the chance of bypassing the natural reactions we have, you know, with lizards, it felt honoring to me to be able to bypass that. I am the type of person who I don't watch violent movies because I feel the pain, the not literally, but I feel extremely uncomfortable seeing people or animals. I don't like watching Animal Geographic when the lions are killing one another. I feel extremely uncomfortable with that. I didn't want to crop this video, but I had to. But yeah, what I was saying, it felt only honoring to me because I think life knew in a way that if I met that being, I would treat it with as much kindness as I could, even with me having these challenges. Like I feel very uncomfortable with blood, hurt, hurt people, hurt animals. But I felt honored today, and I do believe in hope that he was able to have a peaceful transition from this life to another realm. I I believe in the impact bad actions have in other beings, of course. Traumatic, very disturbing events. I think not only people, but I think beings in general, we are able to commit very damaging things and very harmful things. Things that last over not only over a generation, but that gets imprinted onto our souls. I believe that. But I believe there is not anything in this world more transformative than love. Traumas, and of course, I know that there are very complicated situations that I couldn't imagine to live myself. There are very harsh situations of abuse, boundaries trespassing, whatever they are. So I know there is a lot of sorrow in the world, but I radically believe in the power of love. No. And I decided to bring this video not only to bring up this story, but to also speak of spirituality in our lives. I know what I experience is not the same for everybody, and that's great. It's great that everybody experiences spirituality, life, everything in a different way. But I would still like to bring here my experience on this. You know, I feel these encounters with spirituality. I don't know, like I said, I seek meaning in things, and I feel very connected to God. I felt very loved down there earlier because as much as I was suffering a lot, by the time I was kneeling on the ground, bearing witness to the last moments of that being, I felt loved. You know, I felt loved and I felt trusted. You know, I felt honored. I felt compassion. I saw myself in that lizard. I saw myself in that fragile creature. And I felt the love of God or the love of the universe touching me somehow. I don't think I don't think there is much something like literally ascending to heaven. I think we can reveal heaven through our actions, and not only by dissoluting our ego, but through the way we came incarnated as. Like, I have 1,000 flaws. Uh, so yeah, I I take things very seriously. I feel easily bothered with things, with like stupid things. But I think we came exactly as we are, of course, to adapt ourselves. So I think we should aim to improve these things that we perceive as not so great or as bad in us. But I also think those are things we don't have to get rid of, like our ego. I don't think we should get rid of our ego, but we can work with it. We came incarnated with with an ego. So it has its role. It's important. And yeah, I this is the story I'd like to share today, and these are my thoughts around it. Yeah, if anybody watches this video, thank you very much. Bye.